Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another 60 Go presentation. Today we have a very special guest. With us we have Ewan Lansborough, co-owner, managing director and tour designer for Albatros Travel. Ewan, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joel. Thanks for being here.
Absolute pleasure to have you here, mate. Much appreciated. First off, can you tell us a little bit about Albatros Travel and the tours, where you got started off in the company and how it all sort of got going for you?
I suppose you have to go back about 30 years. I was in southern Germany, in Bavaria. I was at the front of a coach. I was a tour manager. I had about 40 people behind me. We were going through the most glorious countryside, the scenery, the mountains either side, the valleys, the greenery, the fir trees, everything. And there was a sign to a town nearby, and it's a four-letter word, and I cracked a really filthy joke about it. I won't say it here.
I think I'm familiar with the town you're talking about. Yes.
You are, yes.
I am,
and
yes.
I cracked a joke about it, and there was no response. So I looked behind, and everyone was asleep. And I thought, this most beautiful day, so I cranked the music up the front, left them asleep at the back, put my sunglasses on, and I had the visions. We drove through the mountain past the Garmisch-Partenkirchen. And I thought to myself, I actually said on the microphone, you've travelled all this way, and all these one-night stops, these early starts, this packed itinerary, you're so tired you're missing the most beautiful aspects of Europe. And ever since then it reminded me, and I thought there must be a better way. I decided to start a travel company taking Australians and New Zealanders to Europe, coach tours, designing in my way, providing a much more fulfilling experience.
When you say you were designing them your way, what was the difference now? Fair enough, we've got a coach load of people asleep, but what's the difference between what you started to do and what was the aspect you changed about what was happening compared to what you started?
Oh, that's easy. If you look at what's conventionally offered in the market, they're offered to the worldwide market where they have 2-week vacations. Mm-hmm. They have the energy to go on these one night stops. And if you have a one-night stop here and a long drive here, you drive it and another night there, you have a drive. You have no time sightseeing. If you're jamming in a few highlights, that's all you get, the jammed in highlights, a few photos.
And you're just getting the regular tourist spots.
Yeah, you might as well just go on the web and look at pictures, mm-hmm. Basically. It's an endurance, it should be enjoyed. So the first thing I did was make sure that we planned the tours with 3, 4 and even 5 night stops. So that if you settle into a charming hotel, so you get to go out and use it as a base, what we call hub and spoke touring, like the spoke of a wheel. You go up, out and back. So you're not packing and unpacking your bags. You're not starting at 7 o'clock or 7:30 every morning. You're normally staying in a beautiful town or village, so you can go out at night and relax without having to look at your watch all the time.
So there are aspects, say, if I'm staying in Paris, for instance, and I can go out and see the Eiffel Tower, but it also means I'm going to have more time to be able to, say, wander off on one of the wheels, when you said the spoke out there, and wander off and see something that isn't necessarily what I planned to do when I started the day.
Do you know the most important thing in Paris is to stop and sit and pay that extra money to sit in that cafe and have that coffee and that glass of wine, and while away, you've done it, yeah. 2 hours doing nothing.
And just watching the world
go by. The Parisians parading past in their finery, the same like in Milan, other cities. You need to stop. You need to invest yourself in the destination you've travelled to the other side of the world to see. Mm-hmm. And other people just don't do it, and that's crazy. And we're all sold a lie on us to see this, do 5 countries in 6 days and 4 freeways and 3 T-shirts, 2 postcards if you still send them. And that's madness, that's an old world. Europe now can be extremely busy with tourists, and you need to be able to arrive in a place, have the time, hit the hot spots at the right time, and also relax. If you're in Italy and you're somewhere in Tuscany, we have one tour that stays 5 nights in one place in Tuscany. The whole idea of having a free day and going up to Monte Catini Alto at the top of the mountain, sitting in a restaurant and having a meal and having some wine, and maybe having a siesta afterwards and recharge those batteries.
You know I really want to do this now, don't you?
Well, I know you do.
Yeah, I know. I really want to do it.
That's why we're here.
But I've known people, and I'm sure our viewers know people that have gone on tours and said, and one of the things I often hear from people that have been there is, I felt like I didn't stop till I got back on the plane, and they're exhausted. And they've just run around doing everything. Now, that's not my idea of a holiday. Now, when I was 20 and I was rocking around doing stuff, I could run on adrenaline and do this stuff. I'm not 20 doing this stuff now. And I do want to be able to sit down and have a meal and just watch the view. have the coffee, watch the human beings. This sounds perfect. This is absolutely beautiful. The other thing I was going to mention too, you've got a couple of specified areas. The Christmas New Year tours you said were coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about how they're specifically tailored?
Well, when I first started designing tours, I picked on an area at a time that no one was supplying tours, and that was Christmas time. Europe, in the festive season of November, going through to Christmas, is alive with magical festive Christmas markets where they set up stalls and you've got mulled wine, heated wine with cinnamon and sugar in it. Well, they have ginger biscuits and sizzling bratwurst, and you have they do literally have chestnuts roasting on an open fire, and there's Christmas trees cut and ready to go home. And no one was taking tours across Europe to enjoy the festive season. So my formula, our formula of having a longer stay works perfectly. So I applied it there, where you go and start in a city like Vienna for 3 nights, gorgeous, glorious imperial Vienna. And then we'd escape to the mountains for 5 nights over Christmas to a village somewhere in the Austrian Tyrol. We'd settle in. It's about people. The Germans, forgive my pronunciation, call it Gemütlichkeit, that warm fuzziness feeling, that ambiance, that conviviality. And our longer stays are ideal for that, settling in one place and going out and exploring the mountains, the markets, the palaces and castles covered in snow.
It's a really appealing aspect, that not having to rush. I really do. I go back to that. It is something that just sounds really appealing, because it's how I want to immerse myself in the place I'm staying.
And that also applies over summer. Our bigger program now is actually our summer program, for the European summer months, the warmer months.
I've seen the brochure for that. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and so again, we apply ourselves to actually saying, going from region to region, keep the drive shorter, keep the time on the coach less, significantly less.
Why is that?
Because freeway driving's boring. I don't care what anyone says.
That's true.
If people are boasting they're going from here to here and they're 500 kilometres, I'm sorry, that's 6-7 hours on a coach.
That is true.
They should be paying you to do it, not you paying them.
That's true.
So it's about being in the destination and enjoying it. And it's like being in Julie Andrews' country. So everyone's seen The Sound of Music.
I think we all have,
and yet virtually everyone restricts you the time to get off and sit in a park bench or stroll by that lake. You should be able to do that.
Your role as tour planner, we mentioned in the intro that you were the tour planner. The work you've put into the planning and the tour and the things that people can get out of this over the last 30 years really shows through on some of the aspects you're describing. It's an absolute credit to you. It really is.
I love it. I mean, it's like when on Christmas going into St. Peter's Keller, it's 800 years old, and including the mulled wine and hot chocolate.
Yeah.
It's so you don't have to wait. There's toilets there. It's done properly for you, and it's included. It's like when we're going out through near Modena, we go to the Ferrari factory, then we go to another Parmesan cheese place for lunch. They make their own Parmesan cheese, and they happen to have the biggest display of the biggest collection of Maserati cars in the world. So it's Ferrari and Maserati and Palms in one day. Who's not to enjoy that?
Yeah, there's nothing bad about that day in particular. I think that's fantastic. Also, you mentioned with regards to the free time and the fact that there aren't any options on your tours. Can you tell me how that's a benefit for the people going on your tours?
Oh, I'd like to say it's like we will not steal your free time. If you remember earlier, I was talking about these tours do one night. You get so little free time. Often it's promised, but then when you hop on board, then what happens is that the tour manager will then offer you overpriced, expensive options to do this or do that, saying you've got to do this. And you can only do that if it takes your free time, steals your free time. And so what we promise is we will never steal your free time, because we've already included all those excursions. And what's more, because we've included the lot, they're done properly. They're not jammed into a day.
There's a certain, it feels very calm and peaceful. Even your description of these tours feels calm and peaceful. I keep going back to Tuscany. I want to go to Tuscany so much now. It's quite staggering. Tell me, look, before we go on to where the details and people can find these things, Ewan, if you were to maybe pick out 2 or 3 highlights of Europe, what would be your top 3 picks?
That's impossible.
That's a great answer. I like that.
Look, there is a glass platform up a place called the Aiguille du Midi. It's the Needle of Midday. It's in the French Alps. And to get a cable car up, it's a 2-stage cable car. To give you an idea of the height of it, the second stage cable car, the metal, hawser, is 7 kilometres long. And so it goes to the top, and you get then up the top, you're up at nearly 4,000 metres. Mont Blanc is just over there. Chamonix is down there. The views, you can see through to 3 countries on a clear day. And if it's not a clear day, the atmosphere is just dynamic.
Wow.
But up there, there's cafes, bars, restaurants, museums, and there's also a glass platform. And you can go and walk over a chasm, and you can go and put slippers on and slide out of the glass platform and get your photograph taken. You can use your own cameras. You don't have to get paid. It is just stunning.
Oh.
That's one. I do love the mountains. Castel Brando in Italy. It's in our brochures. We'll never see the word luxury, even though there is, because I don't want to overpromise. I want to underpromise and over-deliver, right? And but you put aspirations up there. Castel Brando is a beautiful. It was a Roman fort 2,000 years ago. 900 years ago, they made it into a palace, and about 25 years ago, they made it into a hotel. And we know the owners, and we go there, and our Italian Grande tour, our New Year Italian and Christmas in Italy tours, we all stay there. It's near Venice, so we visit Venice. But we stay in a castle up in the Dolomites. It's 2,000 years old. Oh,
you have a fair number to select from, I take it.
There's a lovely hotel down in a place called Languedoc-Roussillon, which is 550 years old, and the Wi-Fi is difficult because the walls are 6 foot thick.
Oh my
they
goodness.
have 8 routers around, and I know room 14 you have to lean out the window to get Wi-Fi. I think that's why you should be there.
Absolutely.
And as one of the things I
Absolutely.
think part of it is that we don't stay in modern concrete and glass bed boxes. If I was to look at a white ceilinged room when I wake up, I don't know where I am. I could be anywhere in the world. I'd rather wake up in a place where, like in Triberg, where in a room where Napoleon slept.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they know which room he slept in.
Wow.
Hotels have memories, and you've got to come back with those.
There's an element to the way you've just described those 3 highlights there that I certainly feel, and I'm sure the viewers feel. I just want to hear you speak all day. You would be a fabulous dinner guest, and I could just listen to all the places you've seen and all the places you've stayed at. And I can already see that I want to find a couple of these that I want to go to myself and visit. I'm sure the people viewing too do. We are actually going to have to wind this up, sadly, although I really genuinely want to hear you talk more about some of these things. It's fantastic. For those that want more information through the 60 Go, you can find it through our Travel at 60 website, which you can find through the Starts at 60 website. There are links everywhere, and also albatrostours.com.au, where you'll be able to get information on Ewan's tours, contact them, talk to them. To say that it sounds interesting, calm, magnificent would be underselling everything they've done. Ewan, it has been an absolute joy, sir.
Thanks,
and
Joel.
I wish you all the very best, but I think you're going to be fine. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and goodbye.